what are we cooking tonight?
So we're making a cold tofu salad, which I know sounds kind of bizarre, but in Chinese it's Liangban Tofu. So I'm pretty excited about it. It's one of my favorites.
Cool.
All right, let's get started.
So, is this a recipe you'd eat a lot growing up?
In various forms. My mom, who grew up in Taiwan, just loves tofu. And tofu is just like a great protein source, especially for the island of Taiwan, because with so many people living on a small island, at least at one point in history, there really wasn't enough chickens and cows to go around, so protein was kind of scarce. So tofu was it was like the steak of the Taiwanese people, according to my dad.
Yeah.
So I love tofu, and I think it's really cool because the way that I ate it growing up, both in my household with my mom and dad, and then just growing up in Taiwan, I feel like we ate it as an actual dish and not as a substitute, which I feel like is what most people think of when they think of tofu. They think of like some really gross thing that they just throw on salad or something.
Right. So like, I can't have beef, so I'm just gonna have some tofu instead and try to make it be like beef.
It's just been part of my diet since forever. And I love it, and it's easy, and it's delicious. You can't undercook it in any way, which is great.
Did you actually spend much time in Taiwan?
Yeah, I did. So I spent about 4 years there, but it was in the middle of my life. I was in grade school by the time that we had moved to Taiwan, and it was actually, it was definitely different culturally because growing up, I had mostly spoken English, and so suddenly, transplanting from New Jersey to an island in the Pacific was kind of like, wow, that's a lot of change all at once. I mean, it was great to be there, great to be with some of my relatives in Taiwan, and by far the best thing was the food. Oh my goodness. The food there is just so delicious. Those 4 years were probably the best years of my life, cuisine-wise. It was just so delicious, and it's cheap.
Yeah?
Yeah, so cheap.
Like how cheap?
Like, you could get a full gourmet meal for $10.
What?
I know. It's really hurts our sensibilities here.
Right. I can barely get lunch for $10 here.
I know. Well, then again, getting your tooth extracted was also $3 if you had insurance.
In Taiwan?
In Taiwan.
Oh man.
I know. So how long have we been married now?
Let's see. Got married in May.
So a year and a half?
So a year and a half?
Yeah, no, that's pretty great.
A little bit more?
Also, I feel like food is such a big part of our relationship.
Yeah, I agree. We definitely enjoy eating together, and sometimes enjoy cooking together.
Sometimes, right? But it's weird because I feel like with cooking, I mean, I was never really much of a chef.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, growing up in a place where food was so readily available, so cheaply, really did not do much for me in my cooking department.
That's fair.
So this is definitely the most I've ever cooked, is being married to you.
Yeah, it's funny because I also did not enjoy cooking before I got married.
Really?
Yeah, it was more of like this is a means to an end than something that I actually enjoyed doing.
Have you ever had tofu before?
I have, I am not a huge fan of it. Let's see. I have not enjoyed the texture.
That's fair. That's fair. Do you remember that one time that I tried to cook for my students who came over?
Oh, before we actually got married?
Yes, it was in this kitchen, just to show how much I did not cook.
Mm-hmm.
What was it that happened?
You were making something, and it called for ginger.
Uh-huh.
And you were like, we didn't have ginger.
And sugar. It called for sugar, too.
Okay, yes. And then you said, I have some ginger on, we can just use that.
I still believe that it could have worked, but I'm really glad that you went out and got us some sugar.
It might have worked. But I was not about to let you take that chance on your students, your poor students.
Well, I'm so glad, and they are probably eternally grateful for it as well. So
are there any particular foods that remind you of your time in Taiwan?
well, tofu is one of the big ones, actually, since we just ate tofu so much. It was such a staple of the diet. But we also had lots of rice, lots of dumplings, lots of noodle dishes, and all the smells. Every time I smell garlic and sesame oil on the stovetop, it just kind of takes me back to another place. Sesame oil is fantastic.
Chili oil. How much chili oil are we gonna use here?
I think that's just kind of an as needed. We can put that in last.
Okay. Got the toasted sesame seeds now.
Great. Wow, that's fancy. Oh, wow. Do you remember anything about when you visited? Did anything strike you as interesting food-wise when we were in Taiwan?
The one thing that blew my mind was that there was a fast food restaurant that was a 1 Michelin star restaurant. You don't see that in America. And it was really good too. It was like the Bao.
Oh man, yes.
Yeah, it was real good.
Just in the middle of the mall. Just a 1 Michelin star restaurant in the middle of the mall. I mean, it's amazing. I think my dad said that Taiwan is one of those few countries that has food tourists that are from Taiwan. Taiwanese people will go around the island to eat food because it's just so good. It's like, yes, it's my own food, and yes, I'm gonna be a tourist and eat all of it. What was your favorite thing that we ate when we were in Taiwan?
That's hard to say. It might have been that.
The bao.
The bao.
Yeah.
I also really enjoyed the mini soup dumplings.
Oh, those are so good.
I feel like there are a bunch of desserts that I also enjoyed. Oh, the mango snow.
Oh, the mango snow ice. Oh, yes. That is so good.
That was some real good stuff.
Were you nervous when you couldn't order for yourself because everything was written in Chinese?
No, I trusted you. I put a lot of trust in you on that trip, but I believed in you. You know me well enough.
I got you.
Did I add a tablespoon of water?
I don't know that you did. Well, joke's on you because I couldn't read it either.
Too much trust. Great.
Okay, so now I should probably chop up some of the cilantro.
Oh, is that what you're using instead of the coriander stem?
So coriander and cilantro are actually the same thing.
What?
I know. I didn't realize that either until I looked it up. But also, look at this. On the package, it says... well, just kidding. This says cilantro. But I've seen the labels that have both coriander and cilantro on them.
Fascinating.
I never realized that until this year. I always thought they were different things.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what in the world is coriander? It's this. So really, at this point, the dish is done. We just have to put the...
Do we need to drain the liquid here?
Yes, that would be great. And we're...
I can also start putting this away.
We're going to ultimately put it... We're going to plate it into the bowl that you have the seasoning in. So...
Plate it into the bowl that we have... Oh, okay, so it's all going to go into there. Okay.
Correct.
Alright, then I can drain it now then.
Great.
Oh, you know what? Another thing that surprised me about Taiwan was their instant ramen. It was real good.
Right? You would never think that.
It's not like that stuff you get here in America. It was like, does this even have nutritional value, or am I eating cardboard? But no, in Taiwan, it was like, that was really good. Like, I'd buy more of those and eat those, and actually for the sake of eating them.
It was pretty good. I can't speak much to the nutritional value of them, but at least They taste great.
They do taste great.
Well, Great job. Yeah, so what are we making?
Oh, we're making a chili.
Awesome.
It was the chili that my mom would make when we were growing up. One of my favorites, because it's basically meat, tomatoes, and
sauce.
Exactly.
I love that. Your mom is great. She really knows her way around the kitchen.
She really does. I think she definitely cooks a lot more outside the recipe than I do.
Outside the recipe? What do you mean by
that? She is really good about just knowing what she wants to do with her food and just kind of tossing it together. I am much more of a strictly follow the recipe to the T.
You mean you wouldn't substitute ginger ale For sugar?
I would never substitute ginger ale for sugar.
And we still haven't.
And we still haven't.
So do you actually remember eating chili as a kid?
Yeah, my mom would make it pretty frequently. What I really remember is when my friends would come over after she had made chili recently, and like we still had leftovers in the fridge, she'd make a chili dip. So she'd take the chili, and she'd put down some like cream cheese in a container, and put the chili on top of it, and then put some cheddar cheese on top of that, and microwave it.
Oh,
it was
man.
really good. We'd have like the blue tortilla chips.
Yes.
And we'd snack on that while playing our all-night sessions of video games. It was a good time. It's hard to go wrong with cheese.
That's true.
And chili.
Well, that's funny because I grew up eating chili too, because growing up mostly in South Carolina, a lot of the cuisine I had was mostly like Southern comfort food. So it's pretty neat that one of your favorites is chili. So did your mom teach you how to cook? How did you come about this recipe?
It was kind of a weird timing because I didn't really take up cooking until after going to college. I was in a cook for yourself dorm.
Oh.
So that was the point where I really needed to learn, which, in hindsight, I should have learned while I was in high school, like still living with my mom. But what I ended up doing was waiting until college, and I realized I don't know how to cook that well. So it wasn't. I don't even think she taught me like immediately, but I think after like going home a couple times, I finally like buckled down and was like, okay, I need to learn how to make this chili and like a couple of other easy recipes so I don't starve or get scurvy.
Were there some other favorite things that your mom makes that you remember?
Yeah, there's actually a recipe that my grandpa made that my mom started making. It was mashed potatoes and a hamburger gravy.
Oh, yes. That sounds delicious.
It's really good. I think my mom tells me a story of, because my grandpa used to be like the only one who would make it. So one time I came home and it was cooking. I was like, oh, is Grandpa here? And she's like, no, I'm cooking. I'm like, what?
Someone other than Grandpa knows this recipe?
Is that allowed?
Does Grandpa still cook the hamburger gravy sometimes?
Occasionally. I haven't had it from him in a while. Usually it's my mom at this point.
He's the original.
He's the OG mashed potatoes and hamburger gravy. Also, my grandma makes a really good apple pie, which there was a stretch when, for Christmas, like, instead of asking for a gift, I'd ask for some of Grandma's apple pie, because that's where the good stuff was at.
Wow. Oh, I love that.
All right, I think we are all
good to go.
All set here.
Great. All right.
My mom would always say, Laurie's garlic salt is love, and you just gotta, love is what makes the recipe good, so you just gotta add a ton of love in there. She would also say the same thing about vanilla when we were baking, which I can't disagree. She was a really good baker, so.
I think she's the one who gave us our first Laurie's garlic salt. I think she felt that strongly about it.
Yes.
She gave it to us.
I do remember that. She did indeed.
That's amazing.
So we need to honor her by making sure you put in enough.
That's right. So are we good with all the spices now? Do you feel like you put in enough love?
I have no idea. That is why I definitely prefer to measure my food, because then I know for certain. Here it's all one big guessing game, because I can't taste it until the meat's somewhat browned.
It's an adventure, you know?
You know, I'm gonna add in a little bit more of the love.
That's probably a good call. That looks good.
Smells good too.
It's funny though, I feel like since we've gotten married, we've tried a couple of different recipes kind of for, meals and stuff, but I feel like where we've grown the most is in baking.
Oh yes. I have been enjoying baking more as well.
That's another thing. I don't think that I grew up eating dessert really at all.
Really?
Yeah, no dessert. We never really even had any soft drinks or any post-meal kind of sweet thing. I mean, maybe sometimes we would have some fruit, but even then, it just wasn't in the culture to have a cookie or a piece of cake or a brownie or things like that.
Yeah. Dessert was a pretty common occurrence in my household. My mom makes a really good cheesecake.
Oh, man.
I remember she was pretty involved in the school, like the high school that I went to. And I think it was like either for bake sales or some reason or another, she would like occasionally bring in cheesecake, and like all the teachers knew, like, oh, Marla's bringing in cheesecake, we gotta get some of the cheesecake.
I actually grew up eating a lot of pound cake. That is the one dessert item that my mom liked. Sara Lee pound cake. We'd always have some in our freezer.
Fascinating.
I know.
I would not have guessed that.
Right? Because I think Chinese people often, and this is maybe, I don't know if this is true for all Asian cultures, but oftentimes compared to more kind of Western baking styles, things that my mom grew up eating are just a lot less sweet.
I actually ate a good chunk of pound cake growing up as well. It was one of my favorites. It's just really good. Especially with some strawberries and whipped cream. Good stuff.
Oh my goodness. Whipped cream. Okay, whipped cream is something that I used to not like.
Really?
I don't know. I just couldn't understand why people were so into it.
How?
Good question. And it wasn't until probably maybe even after college that people around me were just using it, and maybe putting some in their hot chocolate or putting some on their ice cream, and I started liking it, and now I really like it. I put some on my coffee in the morning,
Wait, do you really?
I've done it before. It's actually great, like sweetener cream in one.
That's fair.
It kind of adds a little something extra.
How do you feel like your culture has influenced our marriage? Do you feel like your Asian culture comes into play?
I think it's so strange because having grown up in New Jersey and having grown up in Taiwan and then growing up in South Carolina and now being in Boston for 10 years, pretty much. Wow, can you believe that? 10 years?
Yeah, that's wild.
9 years.
9. Almost 10 though.
I feel like my culture has been impacted by so many different cultures. And so I definitely feel like I carry elements of my Asian heritage with me. I mean, from like my love of Asian cuisine, specifically Taiwanese cuisine, but I also really like other cuisines too, and like Korean cuisine, Japanese cuisine. I think that's probably where it comes out the most, is just my love for the food, and also just a kinship for those who share the language also. Like I feel like when I hear someone speak in Chinese, I think even if my Chinese isn't that great, I think I still feel like that's kind of a heart language for me. And so that's really cool. Like growing up, for example, my mom always read the Bible to us in Chinese, and so would say, like, taught us the Lord's Prayer in Chinese. And so I think I probably know the Lord's Prayer in Chinese better than I know it in English.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and just things like that that really resonate with this deep part of my heritage. I think I really enjoy getting to even know it better now. I feel like I took for granted a lot of those things, and growing up in the United States, and sometimes in not particularly diverse areas, I think some of my Asian heritage was probably kind of shoved to one side, and I kind of regret that.
Yeah, this is sad.
So I'm really excited, I think, even in our marriage, to explore more, I think, of our heritages and take that seriously. What about you?
It's interesting because I didn't really think much about my heritage growing up. It's just kind of like, it is what it is kind of deal. But I think since being married, I think we've had more conversations about my heritage. I think partially because like just the current political moment in the U.S. where like the Black Lives Matter movement and all the stuff that's going on, and like talking about our future of having kids maybe, and like what conversations we have has kind of forced me to think more about my heritage and my culture. And I think I think my marriage has influenced my culture more so than my culture has influenced my marriage so far.
No, I'm with you. It's, I mean, yeah, this topic it's relevant to me personally because it's just, I feel like I'm coming into a kind of ethnic identity understanding better than I used to, but also just, you're right, I think, I mean, you can't avoid it, it's in the news, and it's right that we shouldn't avoid it, you know? I feel like the United States is such a racialized society that we don't think about it, and yeah, and it's really important, and there are a lot of important questions of justice that I think we're called to be a part of.
It's true.
So I'm glad we get to have those conversations.
Yes.
It definitely is pretty great.
Mm-hmm. I've definitely thought more deeply about them because of our marriage.
So did your mom and dad share the same culture?
Not really. My dad is actually from South Carolina originally.
Woo!
Yeah, he grew up there until he was like about 7, then he moved up to New York City with his family. So like geographically they were separated, but also my dad's African American, my mom's white, so like just separate cultures as well. Although funny thing that ties them together is both my mom and my grandpa on my dad's side both really enjoy cooking for people, or like they have a culture of providing food for people. Mm. Like I remember when we were down visiting my Aunt Cynthia and Pop, and how every morning Pop was downstairs making breakfast for like an hour or two, just like making sure that everyone had breakfast every day. Apparently, he's been doing that since my dad was a kid. Like when my dad was like a teenager, all of us would be like, let's sleep over at T's place because we know we're gonna get breakfast in the morning. Hey,
that would make me go.
Yeah.
It was great breakfast too.
It was.
From scratch.
Yeah, it was like the little fried potatoes and grits, sausage.
That was really good, I will say.
That was real good.
That is so funny. I feel like a lot of our, like, both sides of your family, and then my Taiwanese heritage, I feel like hospitality is a really big theme for us. And
that's true.
I mean, it's funny because my mom, I remember when we'd have people over, she'd always be offering food. Mm-hmm. Like, did you eat yet? Do you want something to eat? Like, I'll make you some food. Mm-hmm. You know, and people would essentially get force-fed sometimes. They didn't know how to say no.
I feel like that's probably one way at least my culture is going to influence our marriages. I feel like whenever we have guests, we definitely want to be hospitable and making sure they get fed.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's been really cool. I think I've loved hosting with you.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's gonna be really hot, so.
What's the verdict?
I think the seasoning's good. I think it just needs to simmer along with the onions.
Great.
So it might be a little bit longer.
That's cool. Do you want to try some of my recipe?
Sure. I'll give it a shot.
We'll give it a taste.
Yeah. You know, I'm not a huge tofu fan.
I know.
And by that, I mean I almost never eat tofu, but I will give this a shot.
That's gracious.
Shall we pray?
Oh, yeah.
Father God, thank you for this food that you've provided for us. We ask that you please bless it and make good to our bodies, and bless our evening that we may enjoy one another's company and glorify you. In the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right.
What do you think?
I mean, the flavor is really good. I enjoy the flavor, but I think I'm still just like not entirely sold on the texture of tofu.
That's fair. I could eat this all day.
Yeah, all day, every day?
All day, every day. I love this so much.
I'm glad. I am glad that you have a recipe that you really enjoy.
This was some rice. Actually.
Yeah, we do have some rice, yeah.
Want to plate up? There.
Alright.
Oh, I'm excited. It smells so good.
Me too. Make sure we get some of the peppers in there. There we go.
Mmm.
Chop up the peppers for us.
Oh my goodness. Fresh chili is just fantastic.
Yeah.
It's hot. Mm. That is delicious. Wow. Thanks for doing this with me.
Of course. Yeah, this was fun.
This was fun.